Welcome to the Festival AF panel here at Big Pine at Blends Winery. How are you? I'm your host, Mary Upchurch. I'm really excited, and we are grateful to have a really fantastic panel today. I'm going to introduce them, and then we're going to hear from our panels, so, stay tuned. Before we get started, I want to give it up for Ariel, our bartender here. She's doing a great job. Make sure you tip, please. All right, I'm going to start from left to right. I'm going to introduce the panelists and their festivals, and then we're going to get into some questions. Sound good? Okay. All right, over here to the left, we've got Matt White from the Oak City Comedy Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina.
What's up?
We've got Jack Assadourian Jr. from the NoHo Comedy Festival in NoHo. Next to him is Richard Douglas Jones from the Memphis Comedy Festival in Memphis.
Hello.
And then next to him, we've got Charlie Sotelo from South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And who could forget Rick Bronson from Rick Bronson's House of Comedy, multiple locations around the country and Canada. Next to him, we've got Jeff Singer from Just for Laughs.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, from the North Carolina Comedy Festival, Jennie Stencel.
Hey.
All right. How are you guys feeling? We're good. Good? Are you enjoying
Great.
yourselves?
Still hungover.
Chilling. Right. You're doing something right then? We're good? All right. So the first question that we want to ask you, we want to understand. Tell us, and I'm going to go from, I'll go from right to left this time. Tell me a little bit about your festival and what makes it so unique.
Hello.
Or what makes it unique? Why should people apply and go to your festival?
'Cause it's fun. No,
Yeah.
it's like a cool place. So it's brought to you by the Idiot Box Comedy Club, which is my comedy club, and it's very large, which I think is a cool benefit. So we take 150 stand-up comedians, and then we take about 150 improv and sketch. So if you also do that, that's the first half of the week. It's a 10-day event, but you don't have to be there the whole 10 days. We usually make the commitments for the stand-ups about 3 days, where they get their shows in during that time. There's some industry stuff during that time. There's some fun events during that time. We bring in a lot of different people from all over the place. Last year we had somebody from China, which was super cool. And I think there's a lot of advantage to having so many comics in one place, where you can really find people that you vibe with, and they book places and you can go see them. And so I think that's the advantage of my comedy festival. We did bring in industry last year, and a couple of people have their tapes in places, and they're pretty excited about their potential. So, but I didn't do that. I just ran the door,
Love it. Awesome, Jennie. Thank you so much. All right, Jeff.
I consult for the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. They have festivals, the biggest one being in Montreal. They have one in Toronto called JFL 42, which is happening right now. They have JFL Northwest in Vancouver, and I think that they have one in Sydney, Australia. Who knows how that might be expanding. But I've been working for the Montreal one for about 20 years as a consultant for the programming department, with my main focus on new faces, but I do everything with both characters and stand-up and all of the other shows they have. We don't accept applications. It doesn't work that way. This is more of showcases. We have regular stand-ups that are represented by agents and managers, and we have an unrepped component, which is a lot of word of mouth. It's the reason I'm here. I go to other festivals, smaller ones, and scout and do showcases in other cities, and and meet other people such as Jennie and the rest of the panel here, and finding out about new festivals that are new to me. I went to one in Santa Fe, New Mexico last week, which is brand new, off a contact I met here at Big Pine last year. So it's all networking, which is part of the reason why a lot of you should be here as well, not just for the stand-up and the stage time, which is obviously important, but to network and meet new people. So that's JFL in a nutshell.
Great. Thanks so much. Rick Bronson.
I'll just add, being a comedian from Montreal, where I got my start, I was part of the festival that Jeff just talked about from its very inception. So we were involved. Does that one sound better than that one? No? Well, I saved it. So I was involved with JFL from a very, very early stage. So I feel like I've had a front row seat to seeing a comedy festival develop to how it can develop. I mean, if anybody remembers Montreal, it started as a French comedy festival, then they added an English component, and now this English component is so large that I'm sure, as you all know, the NBC series Bring the Funny this year, the grand prize win was to, aside from the money, was to appear at Just for Laughs next year. So if anybody has any festival-related questions, in particular to Montreal, I mean, if Jeff or I can't answer them, I think you'd be hard-pressed to get an answer.
All right, well, my fest is, it's in March, and we also don't accept applications. Our fest is unique because it's part of a giant festival, a giant music, film, and tech festival. So we've been trying to kind of find ways to get the comedians in touch with the other parts of the industry. And, because of that, a lot of great things have happened. A lot of, film and TV projects have come of it. And, that's our fest.
Very cool. Thank you, Charlie. Richard.
The Memphis Comedy Fest has been around for not quite a decade, and the thing that makes us unique, I think, is that we're a very comic-centric festival. It was founded and it continues to be run by comics, and our slogan is all you got to do is get there, because as soon as you get there, you can put your wallet away. We feed you all the food you can eat, alcohol, drinks, snacks. The shows are great. Lots of fun, great thing to network, and it's been an amazing coincidence that a lot of comics that have done our festivals have kind of just springboarded thereafter. I'm not going to say it's our festival, but I'm saying Phoebe Robinson headlined our festival, and the next week, Two Dope Queens came out. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Very cool.
I run the NoHo Comedy Festival. I started it 2 years ago because of this festival. I came to this festival, had a really good time. My family owns the Ha Comedy Club in North Hollywood for the past 32 years, and I grew up in the comedy club. So I had the connections, I put the pieces together, and my festival is just a fun experience. You get to come to LA. I put a lot of big names on the show. Like last year we had Marlon Wayans, Ken Jeong, Brian Callen, and you guys get to hang out with these guys. And it's a party. If you guys hang out with me this week, it's just like that in LA. I want to make sure everyone's having fun and you're making the right connections and having a good time. That's it.
I co-produce and co-founded the Oak City Comedy Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's unique and diverse. It's ran by two pretty cool comics.
You're all right.
It's mostly my co-producer. Everybody likes her more than me, which is fine. But no, it's unique because our main thing is diversity. It's not just in terms of black or white. It's like the style of comic you are as well. I think it's some comics don't get an opportunity to showcase what they're capable of doing because they're different to a certain extent. And I think that's one of the things we're looking to do with the festival. And also it's like a springboard to a certain extent. It's a credit to a certain extent. You can use it. We're looking for a lot of up-and-coming talent just to showcase it, to put it out there, to let the world know, hey, we're here, and we want to be known. So it's one of those things.
Yes, thank you so much. I want to introduce another showrunner here that just joined us, Geneva Joy from Black Girl Giggles. Geneva, I got you right here. The question is, Geneva, what makes your festival unique? Tell us a little bit about your festival.
I am the director and founder of the Black Girl Giggles Comedy Festival. It happens every July in New Orleans, Louisiana. What makes us unique is that, and you guys are festival runners, and I've heard it from other festival runners, that black women are not always featured in festivals, but also they don't really apply as often too. And so one of the reasons we started our festival was to give them that extra encouragement, like, no, people want to hear your voices, and this is a stage for you. And then people say, well, how is your festival diverse if it's all black women? And that's one of the big things that we fight against, is that just because we're all black women don't mean we have the same voice, the same style. Like, we're very diverse, very unique. And people come to our festival, and they come to our shows, and at first they're like, and then they watch a whole show, and they're like, oh, these are voices that I wasn't paying attention to because I was looking at black women as a monolith. So we all get to be different and be individual. And I also sort of like what you were saying with people who had different styles. I meet so many black women who have styles that are outside of the Def Jam range that don't feel like they have support. And I love putting them on our stages. Like, I love the geekier, the quieter you are, the more or the further away from my style, actually, you are. I love to put people out there and showcase people. And one of the things that I love about our festival is that we have all ages, like 19 to 65, gay, straight, femme, butch, single. Like, it's just so much flavor. And I invite all you all to come to our festival so that you can get more talent for your festivals. And we love it. It's a springboard too, yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a wide range of different festivals, and we're really lucky. Thank you, Big Pine, for having this much industry here. The next question for anybody who has a thought on this topic, why should somebody apply to a festival? And is it still valuable to go to a festival if you're not in it? Who'd like to take that one? Get us started. Richard Douglas Jones.
I mean, it depends on the festival. Let's just be real. I mean, if you come to Memphis, like, cool, appreciate you hanging out, but like going to hang out at JFL, like, is probably gonna do a lot more for you. So yeah, it depends on the festival.
Okay, cool. What else?
I'd actually argue that sometimes these smaller festivals like Big Pine and the festivals that you guys all represent at the table give you a lot better access sometimes than a festival like Montreal, just because of the sheer numbers at a festival like Montreal, with the amount of entertainers that are there, the amount of industry. It's a very daunting festival in the respects that you wake up in the morning, you look at your dailies to see what shows are happening that night, and you don't even have a clue how you're going to take in a portion of them. So, I mean, not to step on what you're answering, because I agree with you, every festival is a little bit different, but I would actually argue that you may have better chances and better opportunities of meeting people in the industry, fellow comics, establishing some great relationships at these smaller, more close-knit kind of festivals. That's my 2 cents.
Love it. What do you think? Let's hear some more voices. Why would you encourage comedians to participate in festivals?
Even if you don't get into the festival, I think you should still go and support comedy, just because we all support each other. And I'm pretty sure just by hanging out, some comedians just meet someone and you're in the right moment, right time, you could book something, Find out what you did wrong, and then just
what you did wrong.
Yeah.
Go think about what
For real.
you did, Jack.
What did you do wrong? Just get in there and make some friends, dude. Put yourself out there.
I love it. Good. Any other thoughts, Jennie?
I just think do your research on that particular festival and be smart with your money, which you guys aren't. We're not good at that. It's like, I'm going to spend all my money and go to this festival and do an open mic. Get something out of it if you go for that experience. So if you don't get into a festival and it's within driving distance of your place, or it's something like this particular festival, which does a lot for people that aren't necessarily the performers that were selected, be smart with your money, because you can also take a road trip and hit 100 places.
Sure.
And get the same advantage. So just be sure you're not like, I'm going to go to every festival that I don't get into.
Sure.
And lose out. Don't waste your money till you're making it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
I'll just add
please.
along the lines of what Jennie's saying. I mean, and Richard said, let's be real. If you're not invited to a one like this or Laughing Skull that accepts 48 comics or whatever, I wouldn't say get on a plane and go to Atlanta anyways to Laughing Skull, or go to Memphis or North Carolina. No. JFL's a different story, and it's not to pat myself on the back, but everyone knows it is the biggest one, and all the industry from around the world are there. That's different because it's enormous. So you could certainly go there and learn, because the biggest stars in the world are there. So that's a different story. But to say yes, to spend $1,000 to go get on a plane and go somewhere, I don't know that that's realistic. Sure. But the good news is there's so many festivals to apply to right now. I mean, there's been such a proliferation over the last couple of years. I just got this list on this Facebook group. Half of them I hadn't even heard of, but it's an education for me. So you should all go on this, by the way. It's called Festivals and Competitions. I didn't make it.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. Someone, this colleague of mine did, but it's got everything on there. And there's, and as Jennie said, they may not all be equally great. You have to do your due diligence, but I've been surprised at some new ones that I now have even attended that have been, a pleasant surprise.
Great. Thanks. That's the Comedy Festivals and Competitions. I think it's a closed Facebook group that you can get into, and it really lets you know when submissions are happening, when they're closing, and all of that great stuff. Good. Next question for the panel. What can comedians do to get the most out of a festival? So you're here, now what? What would you recommend somebody do to really get the most out of the experience?
Hang out. Go to everything,
annoy the
hang
shit
out.
out
Yep.
of everybody.
What'd you say?
I said annoy the shit out of everybody. Nah, but not network.
Open up a tab.
Yeah, talk.
Nice.
Be yourself.
Talk, be yourself, hang out.
Be visible.
Love
You
it.
guys are only here for a limited amount of time, especially with the industry folks and fellow comics. Don't disappear off to your rooms. Try to meet everyone here. Try to be a politician. Shake a hand, kiss a baby. If you haven't met myself, we're not shy. Come and introduce yourself. So
Find a baby.
heck, it's a festival. Make a baby.
Make a baby. Ooh.
But yeah, that's what I would encourage. And I say that as from a performer standpoint first, from a guy who has performed in festivals. You want to make it work for you, be visible. Meet as many people as you possibly can. You don't know which contact might end up being that next best contact for you. So network the hell out of this festival.
Love that. Anything else? We're good there? So is there anything that people should avoid doing or behaviors to avoid at festivals?
Get
Annoying the
fucked
shit
up.
out of everybody.
Annoying everybody.
I don't think it reaches.
Getting fucked up. Don't. I mean, you can, but
don't get
like,
fucked up and go on
don't be like
stage.
that girl. You know what I mean? It's like,
Or that guy.
or that guy. Yes. Well, I was talking.
Don't be that girl.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Matt and then Geneva. Did you have a point there?
Oh no, I was just.
I'm with him. Don't get fucked up.
Okay, Geneva.
Without me.
Like a lot of times in our respective cities, people who get into festivals might be the big dogs in their respective areas. At festivals, I've noticed, even at my festival and other ones I've been to, come down a notch. You know what I mean? Like, humble yourself. There are people there who are probably way more funnier than you. And like, I've seen people, like, even with my festival, which is shocking, like, people just kind of come in like, bow. And I'm like, girl, please. And and like, we're here with this mission, but like, star next to your name. We're not trying to, you know what I mean? Because like, people are watching and they're deciding who they want to book and talk to and work with. So just come have fun. Like, bring it down a notch. Have fun. Leave some of the arrogance at home.
Ego.
Yeah.
Also realize that like somebody's always watching.
Yeah.
Especially like if you are in a festival and you've got a lanyard around your neck, you know, you're singled out as a performer. You may not think somebody's watching you, but somebody's watching you at all times.
All right, good. So network, talk to people. Don't be annoying. Don't be that girl or guy. Be humble, and network and get Jack a drink. Right? Okay. All right. Good. All right, you guys. We've got a wide variety of showrunners here. It's your time to ask some questions. So, have you been thinking about your questions? You have them on deck. We'd love to hear from them. You've got their ear. Yes, Jasmine Ellis. And you might need to kind of come up here a little bit too.
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm good.
I don't think Jasmine needs the mic. We watched her last night.
I do project. So a question I have, I've noticed that a lot of festivals, or a few at least, have an affiliation with the club that's in that scene. What's a good way for a performer to parlay that into later bookings? Like, if you're like, this is a city I'd want to come back to, I'd like to feature at this club, how do I what would you say is some good advice for turning that experience at that festival into later bookings that you can come back for? What are some advice you'd have for that?
Are you asking if it's a club venue as part of the festival?
Yes.
So, like, just for laughs, famously, there's 2 local comedy clubs that have been part of the festival for many, many
I'll let my
years.
spokesperson answer.
I mean, I can certainly say this much. I mean, again, just going back to the networking answer I previously gave about the festival, the same thing kind of holds true about the club. See, I mean, while you're there at a festival, meet the club manager, meet the club owner, befriend the wait staff. I mean, anybody who can say something kind about you after your absence, after you've left, that can potentially open up the door for you when you send that email or make that phone call. That's all it can't hurt. You know, essentially, I always tell people, don't burn bridges on the way up or on the way down. I mean, the more friends you make in this industry, the more people that are going to go to bat for you.
I
think Jennie or someone, maybe like Jennie owns a
Use the
club
mic.
and runs the thing, and Marshall Charles owns Laughing Skull and runs Laughing Skull Festival. It's probably more in line of what you're talking about. But
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. I think I appreciate when people come to the festival and I get to talk to them. I watch every single comics, at least one set of every comic. I like an email or a Facebook message within a couple months. I mean, I get a lot of messages, and I don't care about the first one from people I don't know. Not in a that's me, and I'm sure everybody else cares. But I'm like, you're another comic. I'm also a comic. Okay. And so I'm like, all right, well, you know. But if I've seen you, and I know you're funny, and I know you're coming to North Carolina, I'm like, cool. Let me see if I can get you up. This is another Facebook group to join, so you can get another show while you're out here. And I want to help you. I don't know if that's everybody. I do like that. Don't come to my festival and get drunk and ruin a show, and then send me a message trying to get on one of my shows, because she's not getting on one of my shows. Yeah, that happened this year. I was really mad about it. I'm over it now. You can see how over it I am. So super over it. But I think just maintaining the contact helps, because I put up a bunch of people, gave them headlining shows after my first festival that had come through the festival. I was like, you have to have a reason to come through. The Idiot Box is small. This is not going to be your money night, but let's book you and get you up. And got a couple of newspaper articles for them. I did the best I could. But if you don't contact me, and a couple of years go by, I'm like, I can't remember you very well. There were a lot. So keeping that relationship going that was too long. Keeping the relationship going, that was probably it.
I think if you
Thank you,
you keep yourself focused throughout the festival, killing the shows, they'll find you.
Yeah.
Like I saw you for the first time, I'd book you. Oh yeah.
Nice. Anything else? Use the mics because it's recording for the festival. So, good. What other questions do you have? All right, Anthony Davis.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. All right. So, when we're submitting to your festivals and everything, there's hundreds upon thousands of comics submitting and everything. We're trying to stand out. When we're submitting to you, what's something that you look for? What's something that you really want in a video or like a, bio that we put on there? What can we do to make us stand out so we look good to you guys and you want us to come to be part of your festival?
Charlie, because we were on a panel a few weeks ago, we answered the same question.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not sure that we exactly agree, but I think the most important part is good sound. If everyone's watching these in front of computers, if you have to strain it all to listen, you're going to start looking around. It's just hard to pay attention. So good sound, in my opinion, is much, much more important than good video.
So
I mean,
are you opening up every email that you get?
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I mean, we don't have submissions, so I don't get a whole lot, but yeah. But I mean, it's you can get away with a single camera. That's not as important. But I mean, I just can't stress enough. I know so many people. If it's muddy at all, they're just not going to listen to it. Nobody cares that much to try to find a gem. I mean, if you don't look, if your tape already has problems,
Gotcha.
why would they hang with you?
Nice. Jack, what do you think about that?
Great sound, right? All original material. Don't be a hack, and don't do crowd work in your video.
In your video?
You do crowd work, I'm turning it off in 30 seconds.
Oh, also unedited. When you see a bunch of edits, you immediately just don't trust it. You're like, well, what's wrong with what you cut out, and just let's wait till you're good
Add
enough.
laugh tracks.
Richard.
From a technical standpoint, the first thing I'm looking for is a decent laugh in the first minute. The first minute, 60 seconds, you got to get me. If you don't get me in that first 60 seconds, your next minute better be good.
Yeah, for the NoHo Festival, I only watched the first 2 minutes and 33 seconds. If I didn't like you, gone. So
I watched I watched 5 minutes of it. My thing is, be funny and consistently funny throughout it. If it's edited to a certain extent, not like a best of reel, if you have like the second half of your set is fire to a certain extent, pause it at a certain point and you can go from that 5 minutes. I can probably tell, so this is another part of your set. This is not the beginning of it. But be consistent throughout it. The more laughs you're getting, the lets me know that you got experience on stage and you're comfortable on stage and confident. The less laughs you're getting, they might be big, but more is better.
Can I
That's
just
what I
say,
look for.
I just want to add, aside from the technical aspects where these gentlemen are all correct, but I really do believe, I mean, we get inundated with comics emails on an hourly, probably minute-by-minute basis. I would strongly suggest to even sometimes, that's why I was saying I was so impressed that you look at everything that comes through, because we get so much. And I would strongly encourage all of you, as much effort as you put into your comedy and into the set that you're sending us to watch, put that into your letter that's going to inspire us to open up the video and watch the video. If it is grammatically incorrect and poorly written, I'm honestly probably not going to even watch the video. I really am. I'm really not. It's a personal pet peeve. It bothers me, but catch our attention with what you say with words so we're inspired to watch the video.
Go ahead.
I think I personally watched all the videos that came back for the first 2 years of my festival. I didn't do all the selection, but I watched all the videos. The things that I hated the most, that made me want to murder you all a lot, were like, hey, it's the host talking for 30 seconds about you. No, thank you. And so then it's you thanking the host. I don't want that. So please start with your first joke. You're much more likely to get into my festival if you start with your first joke. And if you really think about the set that you're putting out there, we all run festivals from different parts of the country, which means we all have different life experiences, but I'm bringing you to my audiences, and my audiences don't know what a bodega is. Okay, so break it down. If your all your jokes are specifically about New York, break it down so that you know that people that haven't been there still will enjoy the joke. So if there's words that you think, oh, they're not gonna know what that is, I'll this time when I record, I'll make sure, because they're not gonna laugh if they don't know what you're talking about. If they can't at all relate to what you're saying, I have to say no. Also, your descriptions were like, give us who you are. And then when you don't give us an adult professional description, it's hard to use that to promote you anyway. So those are the things.
Jennie, are you thinking in terms of a festival submission or a club booking
Both.
submission? Okay.
Please.
Got it.
Yeah. Act like this is the job you want, not that you love being funny.
Got
I
it.
also love being funny. I get it.
Jeff, are you going to add something to that?
I mean, I agree with Charlie and Jennie. All of them said technically, all those points are valid too. And make sure also to add to that, it's not a topical thing today. That's because if I see something that's topical in the news about the president or politics today, it's not going to play in July, in September. So I got to see something that's going to play then, and all everything. And I've seen people do 10 minutes of jokes about living in Denver or whatever. It's like that's not going to play in Montreal either. But was your question creative or technical or both? Because you asked a question. Okay.
We're reaching out to you. We want to make sure that we're giving you good material, we're giving you good stuff.
Right.
We won't give you something that you're not going to
Listen, that question's impossible to answer because comedy is subjective. So my colleague over there said you got to get laughs. What does that mean? Laughs to you, laughs to me, laughs to other people. Comedy is subjective. The first to admit that. This is not an easy formula that anyone could bring. Anyone thinks they have an answer, they're lying. I don't have the answer. We all have experience. I've been doing this 20 years. So I can tell you that if your 5 minutes of material submission is about, I date on Tinder, just as an example. Not to offend anybody who has material about Tinder here, by the way, because there's some of it that is an original topic. But you have to understand that someone like myself and my colleagues and the people that I work with in my programming department see 600, 700, 800 submissions in a year, in a season. We're seeing a lot. So what you think is original really better be original. I mean, originality, I think, is probably paramount. Out of all the different factors involved, you really need to be, because I've been doing this a long time. I've seen thousands of comedians over the year. I sometimes have a good memory and sometimes not, but I seem to have an encyclopedic knowledge of, in the back of my brain, somewhere in one of the lobes, like I've seen variations of that theme before. And back to the other point about why it's okay. People think well, I wasn't invited to JFL Montreal. Should I not go? That's a question I get all the time, and I understand why people are reticent because they don't feel like they belong. But it's good to absorb and learn. Same thing in New York. You're not a regular at the Comedy Cellar. Go down and see what the best of the best are doing down at the Comedy Cellar, for example. So you get to see through osmosis and through immersing yourself in it what's actually original. Then you can be honest with yourself and go, yeah, this bit that I do about whatever topic, it's really, I maybe should dig deeper. So that's on the creative point, and there's no map for that, but it's experience. The more you watch, the more you see, because if you're in a bubble, you don't know.
Nice. Thank you. Good answers. Got one question from Mark Silverstein over here, and we all want to get our picture. Silverstein, I apologize. And I'll be right back. We've got lots of time, so we're good.
Hello. I was just gonna say, if it's not like a dry bar or like Comedy Central like level tape, do you want to see just one camera angle so you know there's like no trickery in the tape?
Yes.
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 Edited. We don't want it edited.
It could be on your iPhone. Good audio, good. I can see it. The lighting's fine. There's no trickery involved.
And also keep it clean too. Keep the. I want a clean set
Clean comedy?
for the submission.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the F word fucking.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not submitting right now.
3 and you're 4.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yes.
I have mixed feelings about what you're saying. I agree if in a 5-minute submission, let's say, and that's what is that, 300 seconds, if you're using the F word and really using it as a crutch, that doesn't look good. Can you use foul language? I have no problem with that. But if it's used, modestly and whatever, but if it's every like Machine Gun Style, that's one thing. But I would never I don't put rules on the submission. And you probably agree with that. You just not to overdo it, perhaps.
Yeah. Got it.
Anyone
Good
disagree
stuff.
with that?
No, I agree with you.
You agree? You disagree?
Agree.
No, I'm talking to Charlie, and I want to get into some conflict here.
That's our next panel,
Yeah.
next hour.
The gloves are off.
I very much don't disagree. It's just, but I mean, that's just your set. That's just the strength of your set. If you're fucking, using crutches all the time, that's not a good tape or a good set. So it doesn't,
Yeah, fuck that shit.
All right, I'm going to go to Alvin. All right, and then Kevin, and then we got a question here. You got to come up here.
All right. So you talked about grammar being important in terms of when someone's sending you a message, along with their video. So I'm wondering, what are some of the things that you like to see in that little bit of copy that people send, right? If they have a TED Talk, should that be in there, or do you just want comedy stuff? If it's just comedy, what are some of the things that make you want to read the email?
I'm not sure that I know that I can answer that, but I could tell you that, like, if you're padding it with a bunch of bullshit that, you open for Mencia, like, that doesn't matter. No one cares about that. Just don't make it seem like it's more than it is. Because everyone in comedy, the bullshit meter's crazy sensitive. So just don't do that.
Yeah, for me, it's not even bio-based. It's not about your credits or your bio or what you've done. It's a matter of you catching my attention. What did you say in the first line of that sentence to inspire me to read it? Sometimes it's comical. Sometimes it's very serious. But what do you say to make yourself consider this? Just think this in your imaginations that the people up here and myself, some of them see a few, but still quite a bit, and some of them are seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions, as in Jeff's case. What do you do to make sure that your letter out of those 1,000 letters is going to be the one that inspires them to open it?
Nice.
And good grammar.
Good grammar.
Big fan of
Got it.
grammar.
Let's take it over to Kevin, and then we're going here, and then we're going to you, and then we're going to, you got to come up here.
I expect you want them to be moderately brief, not too long. Okay. The letter, the submission letter.
Okay.
I just figured I'd put an asterisk at the end of that because I had a different question, but I wanted to confirm that while I was listening. All right. The other thing, I'm trying to get involved in a circuit more regularly, so I can go around and do some better gigs. And I've done a number of clubs. I've done comedy in 24 states. I'm having a difficulty finding it. I don't have a manager. I'm my own manager. People tell me, you don't need a manager. Okay, well, I don't know how to get involved in the circuits. I'm trying to do that. Is there anything that you could help me with that at all? Any involvement? Do you work and send people through your clubs? I like him, send him to me, or that sort of thing. All right.
Who wants to take that one?
I ain't got no club. We got various different venues.
Yeah.
If you want to come back, I'll hook you up. But no, I felt like I ain't said nothing.
I ain't got no club.
Now I don't
I ain't booking shit. No. I mean, just gotta get seen.
It's all about networking, man. It's just club owners talk, comedians talk. The best way to do a circuit is to work with another headliner, open up for him, go on the road, meet the owner, then do the baby steps. That's how I started.
Let me follow up on that. The way
Yeah.
I know Jack Jr. here is we used to book, or we still book, a female comic by the name of Kate Quigley, and Kate used to bring Jack always with her to open up. And I met Jack several years ago doing that, and now Jack headlines all of our rooms. Well, you've headlined two, but you got the third one coming, right? Yeah. And that's, I recommend that. I mean, here's fundamentally the problem, and I know this is going a little off topic, but for club owners, for the folks that do own clubs out here, you have to understand, guys, that we do a lot of business with the major agencies out there. It's for us to be able to land the big acts that we need from time to time to put asses in the chairs. We have to get into bed with the CAAs of the world, the UTAs, the ICMs, and when we want a specific act, they might say, okay, we'll give you him, but we want you to book so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. So there's 5 weeks, 7 weeks with that agency. Now multiply that by 5 agencies. Now you got 35 weeks of your 52 weeks booked, leaving very little time and hard for independents to get in. It is a challenge, but as they were saying, network, stay visible. Do what Jack did. If you can tie yourself to the coats, tailcoats of a headliner who's already getting work, and that gets you in the door, that is your opportunity to go from featuring for someone and then becoming a headliner. Per Jack's story,
I did
right
that with
there.
7 headliners, and now I'm headlining 16 comedy clubs around the country.
Nice. All right.
Be a fun hang. That's it. Yeah.
Good question. Yes. Use the mic.
You want to get in there?
No, I'm listening.
Are you sure you don't want to talk? Let me ask you, what's your name? What's your name? Beard. Kevin, where do you live? Where's your main city? Where's your hometown?
I live in an RV with a cat, just to get that on the record. Yeah, I never leave. I've been doing it 3 years. Oh, it's some, yeah.
So he became Kill Tony.
Yeah, I was on that. It was fun. All right.
Okay, well, I didn't expect that answer, but I would have said. I'm going to be very honest with you. It's like you're from most people. You're an exception. Have a base of some city, so you have a base club. Be the best at that hometown club, and I've never seen you perform. It's not to you, but a lot of people, hear this question, and maybe you're just not ready. Maybe you need more time. Maybe you should become the best. If you live wherever it is, you live in Birmingham, you live in St. Louis, you live in Minneapolis, doesn't matter. They all have most main cities have a club. Become the best there. And all the other advice that all the colleagues said here, of course it all applies. If you can get, Sebastian Maniscalco just produced a 1-hour special of his opener. They just did that in Chicago, whatever. A lot of and they find people that they give a chance to. You got to get someone who's going to give you a break. Being in an RV with your cat is a little bit different because you're moving around a lot and you don't have a base. But if you have a base somewhere, work from the inside out. It's just common sense to me.
I started Colorado. I'm mostly in California now, but I mean, I'm in an RV. I can't say. Anyway, thank you.
Find yourself.
All right. Good. All right. Just a reminder, everybody, use the microphones because we are recording this. We want to be able to play back later. We've got Amir.
He bombed at a panel.
Hey, good afternoon, panel. Some of us are shy, and we also know that when it comes to networking with you guys, it's important not to waste time because we know you guys are all very busy. So what's a really effective way to just come say hi, introduce ourselves, and exchange information and just do it?
That.
Hi and introduce yourself.
Keep it short. Just keep it easy.
Don't have expectations with it. Be cordial.
Could end up being a long conversation. Yeah. Who knows? But if you don't make the introduction, it's never going to happen. If you don't make the introduction, it's never going to happen.
Hi, Amir.
Hi, Jack.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Most of us are working comics too, and we're just as weird and awkward. So just come up, talk, be yourself, be friendly, and I'll remember that almost more than I remember you emailing me about coming to our festival. Just talk, just hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah. Maybe don't try to run your jokes on me when we're just hanging at the bar. But I mean, it happens. But just be yourself and be friendly and be chill, and I'll remember that. We all remember that, right? No.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and actually, I met you on the bus, and I know that you run a nonprofit in the barbershop for the reading the books with kids, the literacy program. I know you live in a van with a cat, or a car with a cat, or something. It's cool. I'm a house with 4 cats, so it's the same. But knowing those things about you does make you more rememberable and it's interesting. And I, we meet a lot of people. We like knowing that you're human beings with like cool things about you, and that's neat. I think that's kind of the cool stuff. Open with those lines.
All right, nice job. Great question. You got to get to the end of the line.
What if you have like a 10-second, 15-second little pitch about yourself? Do you guys like that?
No.
No.
Be natural.
I'd
Natural.
rather be natural than awkward.
Yeah, but
it's
hey,
already
so
awkward.
what's up?
All right, we do have a few
What's
minutes
the
left, so I
deal?
want to get through as many audience questions as we can. Eric Helwig.
So for submissions, whether it's for a festival or bookings at a club, how important are things like social media presence and stuff like that? Does that make an effect on like whether or not you're more likely to book a comic who's on the edge? Not me. So, for somebody else. For either one. I mean, just like the idea of like, yeah.
Good question, yeah. How important is social media?
I just say it's better to have it than not have it to a certain extent. To me, you don't necessarily have to have a huge following to that extent. If you're funny, you'll find it eventually, or to come to you, just giving you opportunities to get in front of people. But if you don't have it right now, I think we all need it. So if you don't have any type of social media presence, it's lacking.
Just
on
be
the
active.
Professional end.
Have it. And work on it.
It depends on the festival. For South by Southwest, we don't care at all about your social media presence because we're not selling tickets, and that's not what we're trying to do. But I know for sure that it definitely helps. Because if people need to sell tickets, they want to. Yeah.
I have an addition to that, and this might be me, not other people, so I'll lay that out there. But the first year I did the festival, that was when a lot of things were going on in society that people were like, oh, women aren't safe, and there was like a bigger awareness of things. So like I did go through 450 people's social media posts and see if they were psychos. And I'm not saying you can't. I know. I was like real worried it wasn't going to go well, and I didn't want anybody going to jail at my festival. So for me, I wanted to see like it's okay to be edgy or dark or not funny sometimes or angry or go through a breakup through Facebook. You can do what you got to do. But there were people that I noticed couldn't get along with other comics in their local group, right? Like they're picking fights in their local group, and I'm like, why are you picking this fight with another person that just wants 10 minutes? Like, what's wrong with you? And so like I look to see, are you a problem? And I don't know if other people do that, but it looks like the networks might now. And I'm not saying that's the right, like I'm not saying, not giving that advice, but I am saying be aware that that's who we think you are. So,
I think you should be doing the vetting for SNL. That's impressive. We don't read the social media, but there's no. I'm not going to lie. From a club perspective, we live in a day of algorithms, and it's without question a barometer. And the easiest proof I can give of that is a young man that you all know who just came to Canada for his first time, for his very first headlining week at our club in Edmonton, Trevor Wallace, who sold out every show there. And it's not because he'd played the market before his first time through. It's because the guy has a shitload of followers. You have a lot of followers, it's going to equate to ticket sales. It's that simple. I think if you're not giving your social media a fair shake, look, not every guy is going to be the best social media, not every gal is going to be the best social media person, but I think the effort in this day and age has to be made. It's an extent of your CV. You've got to do it. I really believe that.
All right, thanks so much. Got another question here from Will.
So like with the rise of like cancel culture, like people, being sensitive and maybe going back in time and seeing what other comics have said, have you guys have any advice on like material we should stay away from or anything that you would give advice for us to handle all that?
No, nothing is ever taboo. Like, no, fuck that. No. That's the whole point of the comic. Like, we're supposed to be the window to society. So, like, yeah, nah. I would never tell anybody what they can't talk about on stage.
All right. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Well, look, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, of course. A comic can say what he or she ever wants to say. You have every right to do that. And I said this before. Rick was pointing to me because of the Shane Gillis thing. Shane Gillis was discovered at JFL, and he got the SNL showcase and then the screen test, and he got the offer. I don't even want to talk about him because I have no problem with Shane, and personally, I don't want to even, what transpired is a whole different issue. But I've said this well before this, and before even the Roseanne Barr thing happened and all that. You can say whatever you want to say, and then there's consequences, period. So just use your head. We're in an era now where people do look at that stuff all the time. It wasn't like this not even 10, certainly not 20 years ago. That's where we are now. And, and people think, well, I can say whatever you want because, look at Howard Stern on his radio show. You can say, you're not Howard Stern. Okay, you're a nobody at this level now. I don't mean that disparagingly, but you're just not recognized, don't have that pass, and you don't get a waiver because you're famous and big, and that's where we're at right now. So yes, where's Will? You answer the question. Yes, it's a cancel culture. I'm not a proponent of that. I think there's maybe some oversensitivity around. The thing with Shane, I think a lot of the reporting was very sloppy and blown out. Wasn't reported accurately at all. Talk about that offline, and not to condone what he said. I'm not saying that either, but I also don't like the way it was reported. And look, I was talking to Rick in the car on the way up here. The Disney-owned ABC, Dancing with the Stars, this year has Ray Lewis, who was indicted for murder, and the victims of the murder victims even said that he knows more than he's giving, and he threw away his white. Look it up, and you can look it up online. And the white suit he was wearing at the time, he threw away, was bloodied and all that stuff. Not the most upstanding person to have on there. Paula Dean, who was accused of saying the N-word in some depositions or whatever, they hired her years later after the Food Network fired her. So trust me, there's hypocrisy everywhere. But to your point, yes, you have to be careful. You can say whatever you want to say, but if you also want to say it and just say, oh, you're going to throw away the biggest job opportunity of a lifetime, either Roseanne losing her show or Shane not getting, which is arguably one of the biggest career makers are available today, that's on you. And again, should we? It's happening. It happens to politicians. It's happening to the Prime Minister of Canada right now. It's like everyone has a skeleton in their closet right now. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about if you read the news. And he was accused. Right. So, anyways, go ahead, Geneva.
And sort of on the same, I guess I'm in the middle. You can say whatever you want. Like, my whole team is all comics, so we kind of like if you have the balls to say something out there. But we're also watching how you say it. Like, it better damn well be funny. If you're just beating the horse, or you're just trying to trigger people, or you're just trying to be gross or go for shock factor, I'm worried about you walking my audience. Like, we work very hard to bring in our audience at our festival, and if you're just up there just being gross or shocking and it's not even funny, I'm thinking about that because I don't want you walking my audience. So that's a big thing to me. So if you're going to be bold and take that risk, it better damn well be funny and unique. That's all.
Love it. Thank you so much. We've got time for a few more questions. Bethany, question here.
I'm Bethany. Hi. Jeff was talking earlier about individuality and comedy being subjective. I'm just wondering, from each of you, what kind of stylistically lights you on fire, or if there's a comedian that you've seen recently that you're like, oh yes, what's inspiring to you?
Good question. Who wants to take that?
My thing is, if you're on stage, can your personality show through? To a certain extent, like when you're on stage, it's not just being funny. Are you a cool person to hang out with? And I know I'm socially awkward to a certain extent. I don't like people, but I still.
Yeah, I didn't like him till today.
Yeah, it was like fuck this guy. But I still have to be in front of them. I still have to get out there. So just because I'm socially awkward, I don't make myself seem like I'm not to a certain extent. So while I'm on stage, you can't tell. You can't tell, oh, he looks fun, he's likable. So if you're likable, you're that type of person, I like to see that. Because to me, that's more relatable than anything else.
Nice. Anybody else want to take that one? Rick?
I think just to what Jeff had just spoken about, there's so many different styles, and I like comedy from various different styles. I like alternative, I like deadpan, I like guys that are in your face, I like guys that are edgy. But I'll say this much, the one thing that I still look for from every comic is captivate me with whatever your style is. In the first 2 minutes that you are on stage, captivate me. Make me want to sit and listen. Don't make me want to check my phone because it just buzzed or I felt a text. engulf me, make me want to listen to what you are talking about.
Great. All right, next question from Jess Wellington.
Yes, I'm glad we were just talking about that because I hear that a lot. You need to be a good hang, you know. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm a delightful, but
She really is. She really is.
but like not everybody's gonna get along with everyone, you know. Like I know Rick's into magic. I don't do that, you know. So
Good night.
I didn't know that.
like, do you book people that you don't? Do you book people that you don't like or that you don't maybe see to eye, or how do you suggest they connect?
As long as they make the audience laugh, I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no. I mean, as far as disagreeing with style, like if they're able to make the audience laugh, if I don't get it, I'm willing to concede I don't get it. You know what I mean? But if the result ends up with people are laughing, it's just, who am I? Yeah, again, it's subjective. I may not get it, but an arena full of people are laughing their asses off and pissing their pants. Who am I to not book this person?
Well, I mean, there's got to be some quality control because there's plenty of comedians who get laughs on bullshit material, and that doesn't mean I want to give them a stage.
Touche.
I think it's going to be different depending on where you're trying to be. So I will say, like, I own a small club. So if I hate you, I can't get away from you. So why would I want? Yeah, like why would I want to do that? And I'm not saying you have to come in and pretend we have the same politics. I'm saying you have to be a decent human being to be booked at the Idiot Box. Like it's kind of like because I'm there. Like I don't leave. I watch you. I interact with you. And so like. I'm obviously this is like bigger clubs and this is a bigger. They might not have to care if you're a piece of right, like because you have to be funny. You have to sell tickets. I do need those things. But like if you're gonna make me miserable, and like talk about your wiener for the entire car ride, like I've seen them. Like you gotta lean in. I think.
I'll lean in.
Here,
I'll do
Geneva.
that. No, I want to be close. I want to be close. And I think that comes down to professionalism. Like, just like at your job, you don't like everybody at your job. That doesn't stop you from getting your paycheck. So, like, there are people who come to our festival, who come do our shows. I do not like them. I've heard about them. I've seen things they said. But they wouldn't know I don't like them. I'm not being phony, but just show up, do what you're supposed to do, make the audience laugh, and go about your business. So, I think it's professionalism.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yes.
For my festival, by the way, I'm not the sole decision maker. We're on a team. We're about 5 of us. So there's plenty of people that the festival books that, Jeff Singer individually may not have been the biggest advocate for, but our other colleagues on there did. And, I don't personally have to, it doesn't have to fit my style. And that's something you should keep in mind. It's different people. Just because one person may not like it, even within the same organization, there may be others who do advocate for you, and it's gone conversely for me. I'm going to use you as an example. It's Jessica, right? And we haven't met yet, right? And you do a podcast with my friend, don't you, Felicia? Okay. So I haven't met you yet. I've heard great things about you from Felicia. We're going to meet right after this panel's over. And that's what I'm talking about, word of mouth. And we live in the same city in L.A., and I just haven't had the fortune of meeting you, whatever. And she made a reputation at the Comedy Store. I've heard some great things that she's been doing, whatever. Now I'm interested. I want to see you. And that's what you got to be doing. It's like we'll find the people. We hear about it, word of mouth. Well, I mean that. I mean that sincerely. And you hear about these things. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I will now. You're here. And that's the way that should be your attitude all the time. It's just like it just takes one person who's an advocate. And Felicia Michaels is a person I trust as a friend of mine, and that's how it works with anybody. And I can give you, TV examples. Zach Galifianakis gave Martha Kelly from Austin a role on his TV show Baskets. She'd been around for 20 years or so, and no one was really paying her mind. He gave her a break. People will give you a break. Not everybody, and you have to be patient, and some happens quicker than others, but don't ever give up. And to the point Richard, that you were making also. It's like don't ever phone it in wherever you're going here. I was in D.C. and I did a show. I'll end here. I was in D.C. at a showcase that I did, and there happened to have been the Big Cut Comedy Festival that was going on simultaneously. I walked in. Nobody knew I was there. People recognized me because I wear this hat, but I tried to go in the background, whatever. And then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, Jeff Singer was here," and I just popped in. But a lot of people, you'll go there, they'll phone it in because it's a bar and all that. Take every time you're on stage seriously, especially at a festival. Like you said, you never know who's in the audience.
Anyway, this is a good example. Look, Jeff knows you through Felicia. We met at the Comedy Store with Shuby. I think was Rogan there that night. It was a whole bunch of us back there. And but that came from you being visible, being in the moment, being in the scene. So if you're not at a festival, hang at your local comedy club like Jeff was talking about. Get to know the fellow comics. Get to know everyone you can. Anyone you meet and reach out to in this industry, you don't know what's going to happen to them. They could end up being a very important person that could help you get to that next level.
Yeah. That was a great real-time example of everything you're talking about right here. Boom, boom, boom. Nice. I'm going to take our last question from Xander Beltran.
Hey, so just in terms of a submission clip, do you guys want just straight material, or can it include like crowd work, stuff like that?
You're late, huh? You got here late?
Yeah, I came here a little late.
You're so late. Go sit down.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I don't like crowd work.
We
at
covered
all.
that at the beginning
Okay.
of the class.
All right.
Yeah, but I'm going to counter. Conflict at the end. I'm going to counter.
Because
Uh-oh.
I feel like
counter.
sometimes you crush a little, you crush harder when you're making like context in the audience, and you know what I mean, working that into your material. But I guess it's.
They're right. You shouldn't be doing it for a 5-minute showcase tape. You're right about that. But there are comics like Judah Friedlander, who is a master at crowd work, and he's turned his whole act into that. So it's not saying that you could not develop to be someone who has that style. It's probably more of an anomaly. And for a 5-minute showcase set, probably not. For a 20, 30-minute submission, that's different. But you got to think within the parameters.
So I got a question that's playing off of that. How do you decide what's crowd work and what's not?
Talking
Hey, where
to
are you
the
from?
audience.
Hey, where are you from?
Okay, or just like questioning and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
What if you're leading them? Like, you know, a lot of crowd work you do, you lead them, you ask them a question, but you already have everything
The answer?
they have.
Well, you're going to do the joke anyway, right?
Well, yeah.
So don't ask the question. Right? Like, give me an example. Go.
I ask people if they're married. No, if they, whatever they're, I'm sorry. I ask people if they're together or something in the crowd. I'm getting them into a joke I'm having, but it doesn't matter what they say. I have a response to everything they say. Okay, so that's
there you go. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Geneva, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, with the crowd work, if it works, some audiences like it. I know I pay attention to if it's mean crowd work. Again, I'm very protective of my audience. So if you just like hone in on somebody in the audience, I will not allow that.
That's a great tip. All right, we do have one more question. I just could not let this go without letting Corey Michaelis have a question. Better for you.
Hey guys, Corey Michaelis from Seattle. This is for Charlie and Jeff. I know a little bit about JFL Montreal, no submissions, but how to get in. But JFL Northwest and South by Southwest, since you don't take submissions, you're here at a festival. What other ways are you seeing comics?
I mean, you know, I'll go to a city and spend a week there and see every show on the schedule that night and then every open mic. I was just in Portland a couple of weeks ago, so watching literally 3 shows a night. And, you know, at first I just kind of go in there. I'm hanging in the back of the club. Eventually they, you know, realize that I'm there. And then you start talking to every comedian. And if every comic starts mentioning, oh, you should see this person, you should see that person, right? You know, I've got all of my notes. So I'll just spend a week there. Then you hear who everyone else respects, you know, who everyone else thinks is great. And then you get to see almost everyone there. So you just kind of do that. Just, you know, if everyone in your city likes you, if you rise to the top of your city, almost all of us are going to hear about you. If you're in Austin, Denver, Seattle, I mean, all those cities, if you're one of the best, we'll hear about you.
Great advice. Would you like to add anything?
Well, you asked about the other. I mean, JFL 42 and Northwest is 99% booked by agents and managers stuff, or you know, Wanda Sykes is headlining. She's bringing in her own. It's a consumer festival. They're consumer festivals, not discovery festivals. Montreal's the discovery festival. So unless you've already played Montreal, it's not going to happen for Toronto and Vancouver. That's more or less how that works.
Do you need an agent or manager?
Do you need an agent and manager? That's such a loaded question and a good question. It's
just
a
made me
good
think of it.
question.
For what? Are you talking about for Montreal?
For anything.
all of it.
Look, I don't want to drag the song. We're past 3 here. I got asked this in Santa Fe last week, and I'll be. Did you? Somebody else want to answer? I'm talking. I don't want to dominate the conversation.
You've already answered it once.
Look, everybody wants an agent and manager. Let's not kid ourselves. You want an advocate who's a professional, who has all these connections. Who wouldn't want that, of course? But I can tell you from many years of experience, people who have the agents and managers, you wind up having, it's an old adage I use. You're your own best agent, your own best manager, your own best publicist. And you've got to hustle and do the work yourself, even when you have the representative. And especially if you don't live in New York or LA, Chicago maybe a little bit, but if you don't live in one of the 2 big cities, it's really, really tough. So, and even when you live there, it's tough because it's highly competitive. So, but now, and I try to illustrate by example, with online and with YouTube and Facebook and IG and all that stuff. I mean, I was using an example of Andrew Schultz. He was a new face from years ago. This guy's huge. He's putting out his own special right now. He's got a YouTube following of like a couple of million. He was helping his fellow comic Giannis Pappas record a special, whatever. He did it by, and he's selling out theaters and clubs, and he did it by himself. Doesn't mean to say that everybody is capable of doing that, but it's inspiring to see that someone like that did it on their own. There's a lot of comics who are able to do it on your own with the resources that you have now at home. And then agents and managers see that because a lot of the time they're just they don't want to do the grunt work. They get lazy and they're like, well, let me grab one, And the last little thing, I'm sorry, but the social media thing is, yes, of course, it can't be ignored. It's the last thing that's something that Charlie and I look at for that. We want to see the performance first. But to make it in this business, like Rick said, it is a metric that can't be ignored, but it doesn't always mean everything. And I use the example of Variety Comics to Watch. That year they had this Southern Mama comic that totally backfired, and Variety picked him because he had multi-million followers or whatever. But, we'd be ignorant to say it doesn't mean anything. For new faces level, which most of the comics in this room are at, it doesn't mean much. No, it doesn't. Because if you have millions already, you're already at a level where agents and managers are already paying attention to you just for that reason alone. But we're looking at what are the goods live on stage, just naked on a stage in a room. That's what's most important, and that's what you should all be striving for.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. You guys, we've heard a lot of really good advice. I think we heard some really great tips, and even some things that were conflicting. So I'd really recommend, as the festival goes on, strike up a conversation with one of these people. And thanks to Amir, now we have a really good format to do it. Like, be genuine, be yourself. So again, I'd like to thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary, guys, Mary did great. Mary did great.
All right, we'll see you at the next event. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.